So giving up weed has helped me to get into the best shape of my life. And what's interesting is that, I used to smoke before a lot of my workouts. I mean, just about every time I went to do jiu-jitsu, I would smoke beforehand, get high. A lot of other people do as well. I would always smoke before going on long bike rides. Most of the times actually, I would bring stuff with me. So, like my vape pen or, a bowl and lighter with me, so that way I could smoke, after so many miles on the bike. And I was still a great athlete, even while getting high all the time, even being a pothead. But what happened is that being a pothead is that I didn't have ultimate discipline with my diet. Yeah, sure, I was still more disciplined than a lot of people, but when I would get real blazed, I would end up giving in on a lot of my disciplines just because I would get so high sometimes, and all of a sudden I would just what I mean, when you got the munchies and you eat one chip and it just like explodes, you just go crazy. You're better off not eating any chips. Because when you get those high munchies, I would just devour, a whole bag of chips, 3 bags of chips. I'd just go crazy, I would get these munchies like insane. And so, smoking, I didn't have as good a control over my diet. I'd be more likely to eat junk food when I knew I shouldn't. And just, I would, because, I was high, I would talk myself out of my disciplines. And I wouldn't work out, even though I would smoke and I would get high before my workouts, I didn't push myself near as hard as when, I'm sober. I knew that I would admit that even when I was smoking. So it didn't matter, whether I was a pothead or after I had quit. The truth was that I never pushed myself as hard, because when I was smoking, I would be, riding the bike real slow, just kind of like, just going through the motions. But sober, I push myself way harder. Jiu-jitsu, I have way more energy. I push myself way harder. So I push myself harder. Now, as we all know, the marijuana high only lasts for a couple hours, but it does stay in your system for a while. And those of you who know, you get real blazed up at night, you wake up the next morning, sometimes you still kind of feel like it too. And I was one of those people who used to always smoke before I'd go to sleep, sometimes even in the middle of the night. And I know some of y'all can relate, but then what would happen the next morning when I would go to do my workout, because I still had it eating my system, even if I didn't smoke beforehand, it was because it was still lingering in my system, I still wouldn't push myself as hard in the gym and with my workouts, because it was still lingering in my system. And so since giving it up, I have, every time I work out now, it's at, peak energy. Not every day, sometimes you just have those days where you're a little bit tired, but still, even on those days when I'm tired now, I guarantee you it was still more intense workout than when I was getting high. And then the next morning, I don't have to worry about still having the weed hangover, the leftover residual effect from it, so I can just go right into crushing my workout. I have more discipline with my diet, on the weekends and things like that. Sure, I still will splurge and have some cheats and so forth, but nothing like when I was getting high, because I would get the munchies so bad, I would eat myself into a coma. Where, I mean, it was just ludicrous. I mean, it was just insanity how much that I would eat. It was like I remember sometimes thinking I was gonna die because I ate so much food. And so I would eat myself into a coma, where now, sure, I still do have my cheat days and my splurges, but they're nothing like those binge, munchy, high type binges where I was just going crazy. And so yeah, so giving up weed has helped me to get into the best shape of my life. It's undeniable. And I think anybody that is a really serious athlete and that is training towards a competition or a tournament knows that giving up weed, even if they don't want to give it up forever, knows that giving up weed will help them to get into even better shape. Of course, there are the exceptions to the rules, and there are the athletes, who still smoke and perform and things like that. But the question always is, how much better could they be, and how much better could they be without smoking weed? Like the one guy, the MMA fighter, what's his name? I can't think right now. Nate something, but he's a big pothead, always posting on Instagram, smoking and things like that. But just imagine how much better he could be, if he wasn't smoking. How much sharper his game would be, how much harder and more intense he would work out in his trainings. And I know that there are some people who do claim that they work out harder when smoking and things like that, but I don't know. I think I find that's debatable and maybe just all up in their head, but who knows? Maybe for some people it is. But anyways, this is just my experience, my own thoughts and journey, and what I know for the truth as myself is that since giving up weed, that it is that I have gotten into the best shape of my life. So I can't speak for other people, but I know for me, you know, it's been a lot easier for me to maintain a six-pack and a good body all week long, all year long, and you know, without having to you know, go through those recovery periods and things like that. So with that being said, guys, you know, if you haven't given up weed yet, and you know, and you feel like you don't have the body that you deserve, then I encourage you, you know, don't even put in the idea of your head of giving up weed completely, because I know that can be too scary, the thought of never smoking again. I know that. And so instead, just commit to doing like a 30 or 60 or 90-day challenge. What I would say is to go for a 90-day challenge. They say it takes 30 days to make a habit, 90 days to make it a lifestyle. And I think what will happen is they'll start to have an awakening, like a lot of people do, where they realize they don't need to get high anymore, and then they don't end up going back to it. But just tell yourself, hey, you know what, I'm just going to go 90 days, and then after that, I'll go back to smoking. That way you don't freak yourself out. And watch what happens. Watch as you lose weight, you know, because you're not getting those munchies all the time. Watch as you have more energy, so you start putting it into the gym and into workouts. You know, and which I think exercising while quitting weed is a great idea. It's a great way to channel over to a new addiction, a magnificent obsession, and chase after that body that you deserve. You know, you deserve to have it all in this life, and I think one of the greatest gifts is discovering, you know, just how far we can push our potential, you know, especially when it comes to our physical body, you know, seeing just how much what we're capable of, seeing just what we can achieve in this life and how far we can push ourselves. So you got nothing to lose, guys, and everything to gain. So I challenge you to go for it 30, 60, 90 day, or even a year, or even longer without it, and see what happens. See as, leave a comment below about if you're committed to doing something like this, to giving it up, to chase after that body that you deserve. And until next time, have a great day, a great week, a great month, a great year. Let's make it a great life, baby. See ya.